Thank you, Kathy. We do have a quorum. Thank you for all being flexible with your schedules for this special meeting July 5th, which is not really a special meeting, it's just a meeting to make up for the meeting that we were unable to do at the end of June. So thank you. So let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You. The roll call, please. Start with
Mara Stoner,
Matthew Lovely,
Kristen Zumar, Margot Rain,
Tim Gibbs. And we also have Chris Rogers with us as well. Thank you. Okay, we're going to approve the minutes, vote on the minutes, approval of the April minutes. I have a motion to approve the April minutes. So moved. Second.
second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And we have a motion to approve the May minutes as well.
So moved.
Second. I'll second. In favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Approved. Thank you. Next item, perfect timing. Public comments on agenda items.
Actually, I just had more of a question. It's Phil Gross, 1301 13th Street.
Timer, sorry. Sorry for music for timer. I apologize. I got to turn that back.
Well, hopefully you keep your response to less than 3 minutes. Subdivision, are they talking about multiple houses?
Which subdivision?
Oh, I apologize. Number 5.
Oh, the Gray Street.
Mhm.
Define multiple.
Well, so I'm asking, I don't understand what it meant. What's the scope of the project? Because there's no, no link to find out what the project scope of what it is.
Can you address that or
We can, it'll come up
it'll come up in the meeting?
in the meeting,
Okay.
as part of our review letter. My review letter describes the purpose of the subdivision.
Got it.
So your question should be answered.
All right, well, just a comment, if it's like 5 or 6 houses or something wildly crazy to contribute to our mad traffic, flooding issues and everything else, I would be against such a thing if it's multiple housing units in a small space. So just
Fair enough. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, I see no one else from the public to comment, so we're going to close that item. Public comments are closed. And now we'll get on to the business at hand, minor subdivision, 907 Gray Street. Chris, you want to take the lead on this? And
Sure.
thank you.
You should have in your packets a small version of the proposed subdivision entitled Minor Subdivision Plan for Michael Dorp and Leah Justice. 8.5, it looks like you have 11 by 17. So I have a review letter dated June 23rd, 2023 to Mr. Barthel. I'm not going to read it verbatim. The first section, procedural administrative. The purpose of this plan is to create 2 lots from 1 tax parcel. And that tax parcel contains one existing attached dwelling. So the resulting lot 1 contains the existing dwelling fronting onto Gray Street. The resulting lot 2 creates a new undeveloped lot fronting onto School Street. The term minor subdivision no longer exists in the subdivision regulations per ordinance 535, which was passed in 2022. So all subdivisions are reviewed and approved by the planning commission unless they're administrative, which is just an adjustment of a lot line. But this is creating a new building lot, therefore it's a subdivision that has to be reviewed and approved by the planning commission.
As far as the size of the lots, are there any issues that go against?
Yes.
There are.
Yeah,
Okay.
I give it a little bit. So, per the subdivision regulations 213(7)(c)(4), if the subdivision is approved by the planning commission, it can be approved by resolution of city council on the recommendation of planning commission. And the city council's role in the approval of subdivisions is administerial. So really, most of the authority really rests with the planning commission. Planning and technical, the subject parcel is zoned R3. And section 230-5D of the zoning ordinance states no yard or lot existing at the time of passage of this chapter shall be reduced in dimension or area below the minimum requirements set forth therein. Yards or lots created after the effective date of this chapter shall meet the minimum requirements established by this chapter. So basically, you can't create lots that are less than the required minimum lot size. You can't create lots that are less than the required lot depth. Now, just to give you a very brief background on this, this has gone around staff for about a year, as I understand it.
Yeah.
Yes, that these two lots were at one point described separately in one deed. So there was a thought at one time that because they had been described, I didn't even know how long ago, I want to say a decade ago, in one deed, separately, lot A, lot B, but all under one deed, that they would be considered separate lots. But at some point they were combined, and if you look at the tax parcels, it's all one parcel. So they're getting the benefit of only being taxed for one parcel. So that lot line was extinguished at some point in the past. And the owners were trying to make a case that they were, it should be recognized as two existing lots. But that's not how it ultimately got interpreted. So
Was it
because of
this-
the subdivision process?
Same owners who made it two parcels
Don't know.
or one parcel? You don't know.
I don't know. It wouldn't have mattered for the purposes of our recommendation, that fact that
Well, they should have left it too, then they wouldn't have
Well,
needed
they
to
had to
do
pay
it.
taxes twice, so that's why they didn't do it.
Well, pick
so.
your poison.
So as you know, the owner wasn't expecting these comments. So as a result of the subdivision, several aspects of the proposed lots did not meet the minimum requirements of the schedule of zoning regulations. The schedule of zone regulations, capital SZR, that's the table in the back of the zoning ordinance that sets forth the lot sizes and the setbacks. For example, the minimum lot size in the R3 zone for one family attached dwellings is 2,000 square feet. The new lot 1 contains 1,089 square feet. The minimum lot depth in the R3 zone for one family attached dwellings is 100 feet. The resulting lot 1 is 69 feet and in depth, and lot 2 is 66 feet in depth. The maximum building bulk or building coverage in the R3 zone is for one family attached dwellings is 40%. Although not indicated on the plan, according to the assessment data, the existing dwelling is approximately 650 square feet, which equates to approximately 60% building coverage. This should be confirmed and indicated on the subdivision plan. The minimum rear yard setback in the R3 for one family attached dwelling is 25 feet. The resulting rear yard setback for lot 1 is not indicated, but appears to be less than 25 feet. This should also be confirmed and indicated on the subdivision plan. So per all of those comments and comment number 2, the subdivision would need several variances from the Board of Adjustment. Staff really doesn't have an issue if you conditioned, if you were in, if you didn't have any other issues with the subdivision, that and you vote in favor of approving the subdivision, that you do so with the condition that they receive the necessary variances before they proceed to City Council for approval. And then note 4, that schedule of zone regulations has different requirements for attached and detached dwellings. Lot 1, parcel 1, has an existing attached dwelling. And lot 2, by the very nature of it, that there's detached dwellings on either side of it, parcel 2 will have to be a detached dwelling. My point is that the note 4 should distinguish between the setbacks and lot sizes for one family attached and those for one family detached, because there are two different sets of requirements.
This is the individual who's proposing to do this living in the Gray Street property.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yes, they are putting the applicant here.
So
Michael,
they're the owner.
oh,
Yeah. Um,
what is the difference, what is the lot size difference for a detached? Does the larger lot meet the requirement for that?
It should. Because I didn't comment on it. And I don't understand. So R3, one family detached lot area.
We're looking for that. My concern is that this could open the door to a lot of other things.
Thank you. Say again, I'm sorry.
It just seems like that there's so many questionable things here that it would could really open a door for other things in the future as far as exceptions and things. So that's just my initial reaction, but of course I want everyone else to generate their own thoughts as well.
Well, I'm sort of the same inclination. And if it's the new lot 66 feet deep, right? And you have to have a 25-foot setback. Would you have to have a 25-foot setback on each side? At the front and at the back?
I did not consider the existing dwelling. The front set,
On the new lot, you would go build something.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay.
lot 2.
of
So
the
it would
new
have to
lot,
be 25 feet in the back and 25 feet in the front?
when I come back to the lot sizes, I think I missed that. Because I was looking at attached. So on parcel 2, which has to be a detached dwelling. the minimum setback is 20 feet. Front setback is 20 feet. The side yards are 15, or the side yards are 5 feet, but both have to be 15 feet. And the rear setback is 25 feet. So there may be another variance that is necessary for lot 2, because I was looking at attached dwelling. Because R3 residential zoning allows the most types of dwellings in any residential district. So there are more or less different lot sizes and setbacks for all of the various dwellings that are permitted in the R3 zone. For example, 2-family detached, 2-family semi-detached, multiple dwellings. So for a 1-family, single, 1-family detached dwelling, the minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet.
The minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet,
Yes,
and this is less than 2?
it's just over 2. That's why. Lot 2,
That's not the one. That's the-
Oh. Parcel 1.
lot 2 is 2,047 square feet.
Oh, it's how much again, 2,000?
47.
But it needs to be 6?
That's what the requirement is. Can we go back to the setbacks on the side yards? You said they have to be a minimum of 6 feet, but the total has to be 15 feet. Fine. About 5 feet.
Your minimum,
5, but total 15.
yeah, one
So-
side has to be minimum 5, but they have to.
So they could be technically both 7.5 feet.
Yes,
just-
yeah.
Okay.
So
Yes.
you could have a house that would be 16 by 21 on there. Which isn't horrid,
You know, if
but it's not that wide.
336 square feet.
It's a small house.
if the things that we can tell based on the subdivision plan that need variances as a condition of the subdivision. If they come in with a building permit, they pick a house that they can't meet the setbacks, then they will need to get a variance at the time prior to the building permit issue. But there's certain fundamental things that we know, including the lot size for parcel 2, that doesn't meet today's zoning. And it would be impossible to meet because combined, they don't equal 6,000 square feet.
And they're only allowed to build a single family, correct? Yeah, they can't do any.
Like a twin.
Yeah, they can't do like a up and down multifamily or anything. I'm just asking. Like in that parcel 2, they would not be able to do a multifamily,
Like 2 condos, top and bottom.
yeah.
I don't think that's kind of a new dwelling type. And
But
traditional
that's not
zoning
in the
ordinance,
R3.
yeah, that's not even defined in the zoning ordinance. That attached dwellings are always defined at having.
Well, this would
common
be a
wall.
detached one.
What
In
you said,
parcel 2.
yes,
I said they could not go in there and put like a co-op, one house, like, a bottom and a top. Could they do a multifamily home in
no,
they'd be prohibited and have to be single family. Unless they got another variance or asked for another variance.
and that would be a use variance. The variances that we're talking about now are what's called area variances, setbacks, lot sizes. If you wanted to put a different use than is permitted in the zoning ordinance, That's permitted under Delaware law. It's a little bit more restrictive. It's more restrictive criteria for Board of Adjustment than area variances.
Then other than lot size. And the fact that the existing building already takes up too much space for that lot. Are they asking for anything else like setback or anything?
They weren't even aware they needed to do any of this. Variances.
Did they do research first? Were they submitted?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't involved in the history of this. I just.
That seems like.
They were under the impression that since it had been two lots in the past.
Mhm.
Or defined as separate lots under one deed. That. The subdivision would just be a formality. But then we found that section in the zoning ordinance, which is very typical. That's a standard. Zoning ordinance provision. And, you know. The lots that they're creating are consistent with the lot patterns on the street. We're not here to opine on the variances. But all of the lots on Gray Street are like this. All of the lots on School Street are very much like that. They just happen to be together under this on one parcel. So parcel 2. I should look, but parcel 2 is not too much out of character with the adjacent lot. Parcel 1 is not too much out of character because it's attached to a dwelling that is also about 15 feet wide. It's a string of row homes. So they're all the lots that they are creating, although they don't meet today's ordinance for the R3 zone, are consistent with the surrounding lots. So that's
Process question, Chris. So if we give our thumbs down to this, they could still go to the Board of Adjustment to kind of override it.
no. You're not here to.
Oh, that's right. So we would make a recommendation to the city council. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. If you're not comfortable making a decision prior to the variances being approved. I could understand that. I would say, given the history of this with staff, as I understand it, given the uniformity of the proposed lots. To the surround, and you can see it up in the corner. Something better. Given the relative conformity of the lots to the surrounding community, I don't really have a issue if you wanted to vote in favor of this condition upon them getting variances from the Board of Adjustment. If you're not comfortable with that and you want them to get the variances first, I think that would be your prerogative. They have to get your approval and the Board of Adjustment approval before they go before City Council for final subdivision approval.
So they're going to Board of Adjustment regardless of what we recommend. I mean,
the question is, do they get the variances before you approve the subdivision conditionally? Or can you approve the subdivision condition on them getting the variances?
what else they questions? I would like to move that we table the recommendation until and if they get variances. For a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I haven't made a decision yet. I'm just wondering if it's,
Discuss, yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry, if it's consistent with what's there. I mean, and they're gonna build something consistent with what's there. That, I mean, it's not, you know, I don't,
And I guess I'm thinking,
and anything that they build, they're gonna have, if they wanna do anything, thing that doesn't fit into this 334 square foot house that they could put on that lot. They're going to have to get variances.
right. And so we'll still have to make a decision either way. And if we're,
Yeah, I mean, it's,
I mean, we can't make a decision on the variances. Right. So if they get the variances, or what would be our rationale for not approving it?
so whether we approve it today with the condition of them.
Getting the variances approved.
Right.
And those variances would deal with the setbacks and everything and what they plan to do with the property. Is that correct or no?
Or could they get variances that they don't have to abide by those setbacks?
they can ask. I've only identified facially what the subdivision can tell us that they need variances for, and I missed one. So they may know that they want to build a house that can't meet the side yard setbacks, and they may decide to ask for that when they come in for all of the other variances. I don't know.
So would it carry more weight for them if we decided if we move today to approve it with that condition? Or if we just hold off and just say, you know, like our chairman has suggested, we'll hold off and wait until they are approved with the variances. I just don't know how that works.
Hold weight with
Yeah, like, are we
the
giving,
Board of Adjustments
yeah, like, is that giving them some more
insight or
insight or
agreement?
if we say, oh, yes, definitely, so they'll feel like more agreeable to approving the adjustments.
I-
We've already,
Yeah, I can't speak for the Board of Adjustment, but the criteria for variances really don't take into consideration
What we said.
that there was a conditionally approved subdivision. They have to meet that very strict criteria for variances, as strict as the Board of Adjustment wants to make them. So the fact that you may have conditionally approved it or you tabled it, I don't think should enter into the Board of Adjustments criteria of the variance or consideration of the variance criteria.
I think, I guess,
You know, that's just my opinion,
I guess I'm concerned too, also with the image of the commission that we, I just want to make sure that we're taking everything into account before we vote, as opposed to voting, assuming things are gonna happen or not happen.
Right.
So
We're
that was-
assuming
that
what
was
they're
part
gonna
of-
do with the
so that's
land.
part of, well, not just that, but just as far as the variances are approved or not. So that was just my concern. My concern was also not so much influencing the variances as it was, what we kind of
Making a
stand for.
decision without all the information.
Right.
yeah, gotcha.
That makes sense.
Commissioner Chairman.
We're closed for public, sorry.
Well, since now I know the scope and I had time left, I just want to make one quick comment.
Very quick.
Taking that into account, I would weigh the strength that a 300, 350, 400 square foot house is virtually impossible. And I support your idea of tabling it, and it will give weight, whether you say it or not, to the Board of Adjustment, that the Planning Commission approved it pending their decision. So I think your idea of tabling it is a safe way of not supporting, not just putting the full weight of the Board of Adjustment. That's all.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, well, to that point, as Chris said, we're not discussing what they're going to actually do with the land. That's a different topic for a different day. This is just the subdivision itself.
Marco.
I have a philosophical question, and I don't know if we need to deal with this first, but my question is. Are we supposed to look at these kinds of things against the rules in the comprehensive plan versus, well, that's what's already there, so we're gonna ignore what's in the comprehensive plan?
That's good. That's a great point.
And
I think what Chris was offering, and Chris, I don't want to speak for you, but I think what Chris was offering was kind of like, there's a gray area, there's a leeway, there is a rationale to.
Yeah, everything's not set in stone, that's why we can do these things.
Well, there's no rules in the comprehensive plan. We're talking about the zoning ordinance, we're talking about the ordinances.
well, and the fact that, you know, you're talking about taking a lot and making two out of it, in which neither lot really meets the minimum requirement for that kind of lot. The depth of the lot doesn't meet the minimum requirement. So even though everything else in the neighborhood is that size, it doesn't fit with what we want things going forward to be. So I'm not quite sure how to look at this, whether, I don't think I want the comprehensive plan to be like a inflexible document. But on the other hand, what's the point of having a comprehensive plan if all you're doing is creating exceptions to it? I don't know the answer to those questions. I just kind of want other people's thoughts.
I kind of feel like it was to stem more areas like this being built versus existing areas. That's because these rules and regulations came in well after these communities and areas were established.
Well, I just looked up on the parcel search that the existing house, it says was built in 1893. So yeah, way before.
But that's what I'm saying, so that area consistently, I mean, I think to me, the point was, we don't want to develop new neighborhoods or areas with this same
Patterns.
pattern. Exactly. But however, I do agree not making a decision without the full information is important. And it sounds like the petitioner, like you said, was not aware of the entire process. And
Yeah, when I called them and told them that our letter was going to point out the need for various variances, they weren't aware of that was coming. So I can't speak for what conversations they had with staff over the last year, but there's some history to this. And the section in the code's fairly clear, so they need variances. And I think the question before us is, do you conditionally approve it? Or do you wait for them to get the variances from the Board of Adjustment?
so when they go to the Board of Adjustment, what exactly are they presenting? Are they, because other than the lot size being smaller, on the first lot, the building is already existing, so that's kind of grandfathered into the setbacks and everything like that. But are they going with the second lot and they'll be telling them a plan, or is it just, we don't know what they'll be? That could be another string of events later on down the road, I guess.
I think, well, it'll be up to the applicant, but
So they could ask for the subdivision without a purpose. And the variances without a purpose. I mean, what, other than the lot size not being acceptable, what other variances are there to consider? Because if they're not asking for something, a variance based on a building, they would put on the second lot.
And
I guess that's my question.
well,
Like, what are we gonna get? What are they gonna ask for? Like,
what's that? So well, let me see if this helps. So Chris, they're going to do the board of adjustment for variance on what we're talking about is land use or land zoning. No, rezoning, land use.
Subdivision.
Subdivision, right. That's trying to report. At that time, will they also be seeking variances on what they would put on that property, or is that be, would they have to go through that again, if that was the case?
It would be up to the applicant.
Okay.
So they could give
I
us
would
a-
say, right now,
Yeah,
I. If they know what they're going to, that they are going to build on parcel 2. And they have a house picked out, then it would be behoove them to get
everything in one shot.
it in one shot,
Yeah,
but. I don't know if they're at there.
So we don't know what variances other than the size of the lot that they're going to ask for when they do go to the Board of Adjustment. That's the issue. I think.
But if they come back with agreed, and we're all talking, number one, we're talking about stuff that occurs with the Board of Adjustment, but to your point, if they come back, if they say, we don't know what kind of house we're building yet, so we don't know if we need a variance for the side yard setbacks. And they come back with a building plan that has 0 setbacks, side yard setbacks, then the Board of Adjustment will take that into consideration. That's not a de minimis request. So if they come back with a building permit for parcel 2 that needs significant variances, then that's on them. So
But that shouldn't play into our decision, is that what you're saying? Because that's gonna be up to the Board of Adjustment to decide at that time if they get those variances.
yes. Yes, and the planning commission does not make recommendations on variances. You have this role of approving subdivisions. If this was the proper sizes and setbacks, you would have to approve it.
no issue. Yeah.
So the only, I wouldn't normally, and again, I'm not pushing anything. I wouldn't typically recommend that something be approved conditioned on this number of variances as for subdivision. But I think given the history of what I understand this has been through and the character of the neighborhood, I wouldn't have a problem with it from a planning process standpoint. But I understand your hesitance in proving something that needs at least four variances. So why approve something that is your bailiwick that doesn't meet the requirements that has to be approved by another body first? I understand that.
Any further discussion? Okay, there's a motion on the floor and there's a second. We'll vote again. All those in favor of tabling until we hear the results from the Board of Adjustment?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Thank you all for that conversation. Chris, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Next is the comprehensive plan and report, which is really the main reason for having this additional meeting is to submit this to the state. Chris and the city put together some information that hopefully you all get to see. A lot of good responses there. Don't know if anyone had reached out to Chris individually. I had one question that was resolved. I don't know if anyone else had any other questions that they maybe thought of since then. Or if not, we could move forward on the recommended report. Any thoughts, comments?
I do want to add, while you're thinking, I guess, that this year's, this annual report is a questionnaire from the Office of State Planning that you fill out. And this year's questionnaire has new questions that are in red. Our responses are in red.
Which are the new questions?
Anything starting on page, and the new questions are related to housing goals, and in my email to you. You have everything ready, and then. When I thought I had forwarded the annual report along with the, yes, I did. Email from the Office of State Planning. So just, we know you've had a productive year implementing your plan. Per the code, you need to complete the report, by July 1st each year. It's very important to the office. And then the new part is the Office of State Planning Coordination and the Delaware State Housing Authority have been working together to gather ideas to address the affordable housing challenges facing Delaware. We would like to learn more about your experience and best practices for affordable housing at the local level. To do so, this year's template includes as question number 3, a list of your comprehensive plan goals and implementation items related specifically to housing. We ask that you review these goals and implementation items and please explain how each goal is being met and which implementation items are currently underway or completed. In addition, please verify if implementation of these items has resulted in additional affordable housing units within your municipality. And of course, if your local government has implemented any housing policies or programs that were not mentioned in your comp plan, please include that information as well. So all of the questions under 3 on page 4 are new. So this year's questionnaire. The following housing goals and implementation items in your most recently certified plan.
Can I make a comment on one of the items when we get to it?
Yep, so the next. Pages 3 to 6 are all new questions, but there are words.
I have an issue with the answer in S11-2, page 5. Number B.
Okay.
If you read the town crier that comes with your electric bill, your water bill, they put code things in there all the time. And I think that should be addressed. That should be stated. I mean, we do not have a brochure, but we do communicate and include it in your monthly bill. I think that should be added. It shouldn't look like we're not doing anything.
I didn't know that, so thank you.
To the town crier, when they put, that comes with your municipal services bill. They put them, there's, about grass update, and then, in the winter time, they talk about having to shovel your stuff. They talk about the,
It would be good though to develop a brochure that could be given to people in settlement.
or when they set up their municipal services account or things like that, because or they could also put it in city calendars that they get out every year.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
And they put blurbs in there. I don't necessarily know if there's anything in there about building codes. I know there's communication information. I pretty much just fold it over and look for when trash and recycling are changed.
Oh, that's
So,
So it's on my Facebook page, trash has changed today. So I just think that should be noted that it is communicated not just to new homeowners, to existing homeowners. as well. Because some things you just don't consider, I think there's information there about your sidewalks and maintaining them. And things like that. So I mean, while it's not a new brochure, the city does something, not just nothing.
Understood. I'm glad that-
So on S11(3),
I was gonna say, within that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Finish that. Within that thought, though, I think it is interesting. Or I think it would be important to keep in about the suggestions from the DSHA. So
Absolutely.
even though we do, as Kristen mentioned, we're open to other suggestions. Yeah. Okay, sorry, go ahead. Maria.
no, I was just gonna say, like the comments about historic rehabilitation grants. I actually was on the board of a nonprofit that did that. So, I mean, I can connect people to that information. If we want to do something more about it, I don't know whose it would be in charge of directing people or how you put it on the website or how you connect. And if we wanted to do home improvement training programs, I can easily figure out who some of those people are if the city wanted to do something. I mean, does the city want to do something about that? I don't know the answer to that question. But I know like Habitat for Humanity does training programs. I think the YWCA does some. It would be hard to find.
But I think the answer is probably would still be the same, but to your point, you may be able to approach somebody at the city and say, hey,
Do you want to,
I have access to these things, so that might be helpful, yeah.
and who would that be?
I would start with Bill,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
but I think for what we currently have going on, I think these answers are appropriate for that.
Correct.
At Wood Point, staying on that same page, S11(4) letter A. But at one time, maybe we don't anymore, we did have residential properties that were in need of upgrading.
Repairs.
Yeah, although. I think they may have all been addressed, maybe that's why there's no list anymore.
Maintaining a list, I mean, you can still maintain a list if there's nothing on it. I mean, you're checking still.
But I'm sure, Bill would have said whether we had that list or not.
I mean, I think staff has a list of properties that,
Keeping an eye on, yeah.
that have had code violations, or maybe not a list, but,
They're cognizant of that
Yeah,
yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Was this anything, would this be anything addressing the vacant housing? Wasn't that one of the items was addressing vacant housing in the city? Wouldn't that be like properties that are in need of redevelopment possibly?
The S11(3) continue to enforce the rental property registration and licensing ordinance to control vacant and boarded housing. And I happened to find something on the city's website that's on page 5 that spoke to that.
Yeah, I thought the links you provided us were really, really helpful, Chris. So thank you for that.
One thing I want to point out, we had, sorry.
Yeah, Chris was just pointing out, sorry, that an item letter S11-4, item B. what we just were talking about regarding single family dwellings, and even if the lot fails to meet requirements of an area or width or both. Yeah. Interesting.
So
I mean, it just says the variance is required.
Right.
I just find it funny that we were speaking of that.
So for example, it's a little, what that's referring to, and that's a standard provision in a traditional zoning ordinance, non-conforming, recognizing non-conforming lots of record. So for example, if that parcel 2 had in fact existed all of these years, they can come in for a building permit for that.
Oh,
If they couldn't meet the side yard setbacks, they would need a variance. But lot size, lot depth, there would be an existing,
As it's existing.
a non-conforming use that was that was created at the time of the adoption of the ordinance.
Mhm.
So that's different than creating new ones.
Right, okay.
But that's a classic zoning ordinance provision. What I found interesting is a lot of these, and we had this sort of a sidebar discussion, internally. A lot of these goals and objectives go back to the previous plan. And they all speak about home ownership. And to me, we seem to be in a different world right now than where we were in 2009. And some of these I saw from 2003. There's a handful of these goals that go back to 2003. When, it may just be something that there's nothing we can do now or in this annual report, but
Prepare for the two.
yeah, maybe when you
2025.
do your 5-year review. Maybe you don't change anything, but maybe you reflect on the
Goals.
and we do this, planners do this, we just carry over, apple pie goals from one plan to another. And, home ownership, code enforcement. And there seems to be a lot of emphasis on home ownership in the housing element of the comp plan. Now, why, politically, I can't speak, I can see where there's pros and cons to that, but the next plan may want to recognize a different formula of that, the lack of the lack of housing in general, and not so much an emphasis on home ownership. It's just my sidebar. I just found it interesting that there was so much emphasis
I think there's
on ownership.
a perceived correlation that homeowners take care of their stuff more than renters, and that they
Yeah.
are a bigger part of the community.
Our neighbors.
Yeah, and that's why I said politically, I can understand that.
I just think
emphasis.
even socially, people, if you're renting a house, you're temporary there, people may feel. I mean, there are people that rent for years and years and years and years, and they don't ever leave. But that's, public perception, it's not even political. I do think though that as we go through and look at everything, we need to look at that there should be there's a balance between the number of homeowners versus the number of renters in the community. I don't know, as far as what the balance, like what a good ratio would be in order to maintain a good community. So that would be something we would have to research and look at things, because the younger people now are not buying homes because probably they are too expensive. So I did see where they get like $30 million from the federal government for affordable housing. I think that was recently, but it's in the budget. They allocated a lot of money.
The state
The state budget. They got, I think, there's a significant chunk of money is dedicated to affordable housing in the state government. That was put through in the budget. That was one of their big things that they put as a pro in the budget. So they were increasing teacher salaries and things like that. Was in the article.
Yeah, I saw that, which is a good thing.
Right.
Um,
So I do think that in the purview is to determine what is now. You know,
realistic and reasonable.
well, not only that, but what is good for the community. I think I was reading some of the information in the comp plan, and it says about there was what percentage of the residents were renters versus, it's page 115, I think. What percentage of the residents were renters versus homeowners? And it also had said something along the lines of like, we had less homeowners in Delaware City. I don't know, compared a lot of things. But there's gotta be a ratio, and I'm sure it evolves as societies evolve. It's not gonna be the same from 1950 to 2000 to 2025. I mean, it evolves with the change in lifestyle in general.
And I think a lot of older people, rather than staying in their house because it's too hard to maintain, will go into apartments rather than nursing.
Yeah, they still want to maintain their independence, but not the property.
That is a mega trend.
And people are living longer.
So these are definitely things to consider for the next updates for the planning. I'm sorry, for the comprehensive plan. Is there any further comment on the report that Chris and the city put together? This is not a voting item per se, Chris, it was just for additional feedback to,
I would vote on it, so that, we can say at the council that the planning commission
Approved.
approved it to forward it to councils so they can.
With recommended updates regarding,
with the.
Yeah, I was gonna say approved as amended by.
And that's strategy 11-2 to include a statement that the within the water and electric bills.
there's 11 grade.
Which one now? Oh,
Last year.
Yeah, yes, S11-2, item B.
Water and electric bills from MSC.
Yes, it's the town crier, is what it's called.
you could just say the municipal service commission bills include a newsletter which also contains comments about maintenance.
Code enforcement, property code enforcement.
And how do we get our water quality report?
From them as well.
Mhm.
That comes with a calendar?
I think it's a separate
Separate.
mailing.
It's a separate mailing, yeah.
No,
Right,
while we
so-
recognize that town crier isn't comprehensive, at least it's not being ignored.
Yeah, no, we don't offer one, but we do try to educate the public.
That's why we keep the part in about being open to doing other things, yeah. All right, so anyone have a motion to approve the?
I motion to approve with the recommendations.
I second.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you all for that discussion. Thank you, Chris, for putting that together. Appreciate that. Okay, comments from commission members?
Are we allowed to socialize the meeting? If we know, if we are, as we know,
mean, we have-
somebody else's term is up as of July 11th, so now we're down another person. I mean, can we forego until the new mayor gets elected? In the beginning of August, they would be able to set forth,
But when would they be sworn in?
We can.
they can be sworn in anytime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, we can run that by legal. Whether we have that, so I will.
because it is very difficult to get a quorum. And now we're gonna be down yet another person.
I'll do that, or today or tomorrow, I'll reach out to Max, find out if we can. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an item on the agenda that we already had.
Oh, that we removed last month?
That we weren't supposed to have a meeting, not supposed to have a meeting about a quorum.
No, it wasn't, I'm sorry, it was so long ago. We had them push it to the regular July meeting because we didn't receive
The
it.
610 West 7th Street?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that
I-
was that was on,
so I hadn't received it. I received it like a week before the meeting, so I wasn't gonna have a chance to write a review letter.
So you're expecting that in the July meeting, okay, all right.
So that, still run it by legal, but there was an application that's expecting to be at the July meeting.
I will do that, I'll run that by. In the event that we will have a meeting, Margot has begged me to run the meeting.
Are we begging?
So we do have someone in place to do that. But yes, my term is up on the 11th, so, there's that. So there's 3 people through down now. So, any other comments?
This is your first, second term?
My first term, 3rd year. Well, actually, I was covering for somebody else, so it's like 2.5 years. Yeah. So yeah. So. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
so moved.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Obviously, nothing official, but I do have a suggestion that any documents or anything. That maybe you can put a link